Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee with Derek and Craig. We're just getting that coffee in us, too, the little IV going on. It seemed like, talk to Craig. Oh, man, you okay?
Yeah, coffee's going down the wrong side.
Yeah, no doubt. I see Gavin's already on this morning. Morning, Gavin. He's over there in Australia. I think, well, it's nighttime for him now. I think it's about midnight or something like that. Shoot, yeah, he said evening, guys. He's probably having a beer, and we're having coffee. So I guess you can have, have beer with Derek and Craig too. But yeah, we trying to get up this morning. Craig was telling me he wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, and figures he's going to go take a little nap before the show, and then the next thing you know, it's 6:30 or something like that. I did about the same thing. It's just different. We're not, I'm used to getting up early in the morning, but lately it's been, the rain has been so bad. And I went out this morning and had my cup of coffee on the porch there and opened up the door, and it's like it's all foggy and everything. My God, it's going to be another humid day. I can just tell right now. So we'll see what happens. I guess it's 9 p.m. there in Australia where Gavin's at. We're just doing our show, right, Craig? Our regular show. But yeah, we wanted to talk a little bit more about settings and stuff like that for some of these detectors. It's kind of a topic that can go on because there's so many different ways you can adjust these machines. It doesn't really matter which one you're using either. I mean, they're all, no two machines are really alike, even models. I mean, if you buy an E-Track and a CTX and a Equinox. I mean, they're just going to be different the way they handle what you need to adjust on them and stuff like that. But we talked about this before about getting these machines that, Craig, are like we call them middle of the road or about average price range. But now with the Equinox coming out and Quest Pro and there's Deus has new programs and everything, it seems like they're moving the price points more affordable for people for what the machines do. Because it seems like I don't own an Equinox myself. I haven't bought one yet. I have the Quest Pro and stuff, but from what Craig's telling me and what off air too is like, man, the machine for the price it is right there, it should be 10 years ago that would have been a $1,500 machine easy. Craig, that's what I'm gathering because even the E-Track is still what 1,800 or something like that, and it's that technology came out a while ago. I mean, it's a solid machine. Don't get me wrong, I'm not beating it up, but it just amazes me the price point on some of these machines is quite a bit lower than I expected them to be.
Well, there's people getting rid of CTX 3030s and getting Equinoxes. I've seen people do that. And that's $2,400-$2,500 machine versus a $900 machine. So,
right.
I'm pretty impressed with this Equinox. It doesn't give the depth of the Bliss tool, but what I'm finding is in the heavy iron in my yard with all these nails and everything, it's able to pick out through the nails, pull this stuff out that sometimes the nails block the Bliss tool where it's kind of clipping, but with the Tone ID, I can hear sometimes just one direction. I can hear like the high tone, and then
right.
A lot of times when I pinpoint and then release, it'll show a number of what the object is, and it's like yesterday I got this signal and it kept popping up to 17, and I thought, well, that's a number for a Civil War bullet, basically, and so I could tell there was some other stuff mixed with the signal, because I could hear lower tones,
right, coming
for iron or something, yeah, but I just basically pinpoint. I dug a much bigger plug than I normally dig because I was not really, precise on the pinpoint, so I decided I'll dig a bigger plug and then pull all the dirt out. I was down about 9 or 10 inches, I finally got the signal, with my pinpointer, and it was probably almost 11 inches deep, and it was a Civil War bullet that was melted.
Yeah.
Pretty heavy piece, and it had the real white patina on it. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, but it was probably within 20 feet of where I dug the breastplate. So this was an area of my yard where I'd been over and over and over it. And I was using, opening up the screen to running the iron at -9 instead of using iron bias. I was, not using any.
Right.
And I read about this when I first got the machine, and the first day I tried it was, when I got it, I was able to, pick out stuff right next to big iron. And I'd been all over that. There's a little tiny section right behind my back steps in the yard there in front of my shed. And it just hadn't produced that much. And I'd gotten one. I remember I got a silver dime that was on edge with the Bliss tool right in front of the shed. But when I got the Equinox, I decided they were saying that you could unmask targets that were like coin-like readings or whatever that were masked by iron, then drop the iron down into the negative range, and the programs are trying to find like a round target or a coin signature type target, and if there's iron mixed in, then it will tend to reject it.
Right. It's almost like it's kind of like a surgical performance on that Equinox, and kind of like with the Deus too. I mean, because you've run, I don't know what the settings you're running, but I know the way that you run it, running in pretty much full tones, and you're listening, you're letting the machine do its work and trying to pick out items amongst iron. I noticed that the Quest does that too, but I haven't used it enough to get that kind of precision as far as the settings go to allow that to have more free range so that you can kind of pick out those targets. But it almost sounds like it's a surgical detector, what I mean? And it just, where Bliss Tool's depth, and it does get, you do have performance as far as being able to pick out items near iron and stuff like that. But with the Equinox, the way that you talk about it, it is like surgical precision. You can get, you're maybe not getting the same depth, but you are definitely getting the performance of unmasking this stuff, or allowing the machine to pick through it, kind of, and keep that good target tone or whatever in there, letting you know that you have iron around it. It's just kind of a neat feature that I didn't really expect out of that machine, But this way,
I was also running the recovery speed at 4, which is low. It's slows the machine down. So there's a lot of people that are doing that, and they creep along. You basically, you can pick out stuff. If you go real slow, you can pick out deep targets, even in the, iron trash and stuff. But, I'm just kind of, going out every day and, trying new things on the detector. And I did the same thing with the Bliss tool recently. I kind of set it up kind of like the Equinox, opening up the, more iron, accepting more iron, and I was able to, pick out some new, targets that I wasn't able to pick out before, and some of them weren't even that deep. So iron really messes with machines.
Oh yeah, I use it when I was using the Bliss tool over in that property, that toll bridge property. I was turning down the discrimination depth. It's essentially the primary discriminator on that machine, and it's very good about discriminating out iron. I mean, you can knock out an axe head if you want to, but still get a dime or a penny or whatever size target next to it. But I've been running that iron discrimination a lot lower than like 7.25, 7.5, somewhere in there. It makes it a lot more busy as far as the signals go, but you're opening the machine up to be able to accept it, but it's also giving you those lock-on targets a little bit better. You kind of have to listen to the tone a lot more to pick out what you're listening for. But it's just the way I can run the silencer up, and do some other changes too, and it just lets me know, okay, that spit at the end of it, that's iron. There's no doubt about it. I've dug enough of the targets now where I know it now. It's a nail signal. It has that spittiness at the end of it or whatever. Pick out little parts of it. But when I hit go over a non-ferrous target, it is nice and crisp and clean. And, even if it's amongst nails, I can pull it out of there a lot easier than I was before. But it's just messing with these settings and figuring out where they work the best together with the Bliss tool part of it. And it sounds like the Equinox does the same kind of thing. Different technology. I mean, just different machine. So
yeah, it's processing the signal. So is the Bliss tool. And it's just a different way of doing it. But one characteristic that the Equinox has, the same as the Bliss tool, is sometimes when you get like sort of a good reading in one direction, but
right.
then you go the other way, it'll knock it out completely, and it's usually iron.
Yeah, Gavin's on here. He's talking about Gavin McGregor there. He's in Australia. He said the Nox is my first machine. Is my first machine to have reactivity and iron bias. Granted, I only have the 600, so not the adjustments of the 800. At present, I leave them in factory settings, and it seems okay. I understand the lower the reactivity, the deeper it will go, but with a slower swing speed. But factory settings seem to be doing, okay for him. And yeah, I mean, you have to get your mind wrapped around the machine. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. But you have to get your mind wrapped around the machine, what it's doing, how it's reacting, and that's what, Craig's been using it for quite a while now, and still making adjustments. It gives you the freedom to make the machine the way you want it to do it. But the reactivity, iron bias, these are all extra performance points that you don't have on every metal detector. That's why it's nice to have these adjustments, even if you don't use them, Craig. I mean, it gives you that you can grow with the detector. You know what I mean? You're just not stuck with two knobs, and, on switch and a you're not stuck. You can do something with it.
Yeah, you can do a lot more with these newer machines now because with the digital stuff you can it seems like the separation and the speed that these things react to the targets is it's just giving you a lot more information and processing the signal more, especially in the iron. There was machines in the past like whites, some of those whites, I wouldn't have been able to pick out hardly anything in a yard. It was so bad with the iron. And a lot of those, especially the earlier whites, they just didn't do well with the iron. I used to use a Tesoro. I used to use a Tesoro, go right behind those guys and pick stuff out, and I remember there was this guy that was a Marine that came to my shop, and he had injured himself, and he had some time off. And he wanted to metal detect, and he was mentioning this place in Centerville, and I said, "Oh yeah, that's where the Confederate camps were." And so he bought a Bandito, and he took it up there, and there was a whole. It was almost everybody was using whites back then, and if you they saw you with something else, they'd go, "Oh, you're not going to find anything," But he went up there, and there was one guy was mocking him, why don't you get a real machine? And so he saw the guy checking the signal, and he saw the guy walk on it, and he went up and swung over it, and it sounded good. And I told him, if it sounds good in both directions, dig it.
Yeah.
And I said, relic hunting, you really don't need a meter. If you're on a site, you just don't know what you're going to find, especially on a Civil War site. Just dig everything.
Yep.
You might, you can dig something big iron that's great too. Cannonball.
Just never know. You get it out of the ground.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of iron. So anyway, he gets his signal and he digs it, and it's a South Carolina button with a nail completely over top of it. And anyway, the guy that walked on it saw him digging it, and he said, "Hey, what'd you just dig?" And the guy goes, "Oh, I got a South Carolina button." And
Yeah.
I think it was the first signal he got with that machine.
Yep.
And then there was another signal he said that, and he was getting it, but it was scratchy, and he decided to dig it anyway, and it was a trigger guard to a rifle. So
don't knock people.
know,
I mean, we talk about it on here. There's a lot of people that run machines that under norm, like AT Pros. I mean, those machines are good. I mean, if you know those machines and you have the right coils and the right setup for them, they're pretty doggone good. I mean, for even an experienced hunter. I mean, I know several of the guys that still use their AT Pro and like them, and they have aftermarket coils for them and stuff. But at the Thisaro, I mean, I've used them before, and I kind of got hooked on them for a while there when my Whites was in the shop. Had to get some work done to it, but I liked the way they reacted. I understood exactly what my buddy was talking about when he said, listen for the rounded sound, the rounded tone, and it's going to be something good, like a coin-sized target and stuff like that. And that's what made me a believer, because they kind of look, back in the 90s, well, they look like toys. I mean, the control box is very small, not very many adjustments on some of them. I was using a Lobo, I think, or something like that, or I can't remember now, Craig, but, I had the White Spectra V3, and it has every adjustment under the sun on it. That enabled me to learn different, I guess, through other machines, understanding what they're doing and how to adjust this stuff in different ways on them. But yeah, that White Spectra, I like that machine only because I could adjust it just the way I wanted it. I had my own settings. You could store them just like presets. So, if I went to a beach or whatever, I didn't have to use their beach settings. I had it set up for the way I like to hunt. And he had stuff, the recovery delay and correlate and offsets and, even ground balancing, you could offset that. I mean, it was really nice. And then it became a game. How much of this stuff really doesn't matter to me, and let the machine breathe, let it do what it's supposed to do, and all the bells and whistles, what I don't need, just turn off or make them silent. Essentially, I ran all metal, but I turned off the tones for all the numbers I didn't want. All the negative numbers, but I essentially was running all metal, just turned the sound off. So that was different. It was a weird kind of way to run it, but I would do that. I turned the backlight all the way down. I don't need a backlight. I don't use the screen very much anymore. So, I just try and give it all the power it could just to the actual detection of the target. Don't know if that was the right way to look at it or not, but it seemed to work for me pretty good. But it would jump into the negative range on deep targets. And you talked about, the Nox, digging that, I think it was a Tomback button or something you were talking about last night. It was reading up like a 5 or something like that.
The Tomback read like 14, but
there was a button or something you were talking about, pewter or something like that.
No, it was a little square piece of lead that was worked, and it was almost like the size of a little, like a lieutenant bar or something.
Right.
And it had like 2 dents on the back where it looked like something had attached, or maybe it lost the attachment or something. I don't know what it is, but
it read so low. Though, is what I was getting at. Most people wouldn't have dug a 5.
Yeah,
something like
but
that.
it was given a repeatable low tone, in every direction, and just one of those signals where I thought, man, I got to see what that is, and I think the lowest tone I dug over at the other site where I found the cut real. I got a number of buttons over there, and one of them read 5. That was a good signal. I got a couple that were 10 and 11 that were they were British buttons, like from probably about 1800 to 1820s.
Right.
They had sort of like a little heraldic eagle or something on it on the back.
Huh.
Yep. Yeah. One of them, the shank was like pushed over, and I saw something under the shank, and I couldn't see what it was, and I was, cleaning it and everything. I got it fairly clean, but I just couldn't see any detail. And then I started seeing it looked like wings. So I actually got a pair of pliers and bent the shank up a little bit so I could see what was under it. And it was a really cool eagle, and I thought, man, I've never seen an eagle like that, and So
Right.
I put it on the internet, and turned out it was a British button. But it just had a different eagle than we use over here. So eagle is kind of a symbol that a lot of countries have. I've seen them in Austria. They have a kind of a strange looking eagle over there.
Well, Germany, yeah, all these countries.
Yeah. It's like eagles, lions,
Falcons,
like that,
all that kind of stuff. Yeah, anything.
Which is cool. I love stuff like that. I like these flower buttons. I like buttons that have stuff on them. There's another thing that happened. A guy contacted me. He saw the button on Instagram or maybe on YouTube. I can't remember, but he sent me a little video. I'll put it up on the hardcore page on how to clean Tombacks and how he does it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That was actually pretty interesting. I didn't know that you could add baking soda to peroxide and use it that way. It was kind of
I
different
never
for me
seen that
checking
either.
out. Yeah.
But I'm going to have to get some baking soda. I looked around the house, didn't see any, but
it's in the refrigerator.
I use the peroxide. Oh, maybe it is some in there.
Yeah, you're supposed to keep your refrigerator, always reuse whatever the stuff. But I was kind of worried about it scratching. I guess you kind of use your best judgment on it, Craig. I mean, I don't think it's going to scratch up a button that bad, but I mean, it can be pretty abrasive if you put too much.
The Tomback material is, a brass alloy, and
right.
It's almost like shiny. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like brittle. You see them break every once in a while.
Right.
But it's not like you're going to break it with your hands, but some of them break, I guess, with wear. But
I wonder if that would work on a Dandy button too. I mean, I got those buttons that I got from Pennsylvania that I don't know. You can't really see a whole lot. I wonder if that would help me bring out some a little bit more detail out of the button, or whether it was just a plain Jane button.
Yeah, I usually use peroxide on all the buttons anyway.
Really? Yeah, I've never cleaned it. I've just kind of brushed it off or whatever, put it in the case. Rather than sit there and mess with it too much. But it's the same as the King George I got. I didn't really mess with it either. When in doubt, don't clean it. Is what I figure, because I don't want to clean it the wrong way.
I don't think you can do too much harm with the peroxide. It'll take off. It'll kind of lift off a lot of the gunk
impurities.
And dirt and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I dug an Indian head penny in the yard, and the back was just beautiful, but the front was just discolored and had weird colors on it, and it had this, like caked on grime, and put it in the peroxide,
right.
And every half an hour or so I'd take it out and brush it. I finally got it so it looked pretty good, but as soon as it started drying, it started looking bad again. So I cleaned it real good and wiped it real fast, and then rubbed Renaissance wax on it, which is this preservative wax that some of the like the British Museum uses it on artifacts.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of weird. It's kind of oily, and I was rubbing it on there, and then I kind of showed it in a picture, and then this woman down in Central Virginia said that she said that wax is good, but it's kind of weird, and you might try letting it dry and then brushing it with a toothbrush. So I did, and man, that thing came out. It brought all the detail out. The date just popped,
right.
on that thing, and it looks so much better. So that that not only did that wax work, but it kind of shined the coin up some too. Made it much more presentable. So the wax. I think that wax. I got a little tiny little vial of it, like a Vicks, kind of like a Vicks pile.
Yeah.
But it was like I think it was like $25.
Wow.
Pretty expensive, but
Yeah. Well, if it's needed for the
you,
cleaning of it, and bringing out detail, it's worth it. I mean, I'd pay for the
but
product just for that.
I just rubbed my tip of my finger in the wax and got a little bit on there, and it just started rubbing it on the coin. So it doesn't take much.
What's it called again, Craig? Sorry, you said it.
Yeah, it's called Renaissance wax.
Yeah, let's look into that. See if we can. That's a good item for people to use. Or it seems
There's
like
another thing I got that for cleaning is this thing called Andre's pencils, and they're basically based on, some of them are. It's like a pencil with steel wool instead of a piece of lead, and you can actually use this to rub some of the stuff off. There's 4 different little tools. One of them is like a pick you can kind of scrape with. So you got to be careful, but you can, scrape off, stuff that other.
Yeah, I like to use wood like a toothpick
won't.
or something like that, where I'm not going to damage it as much. You got to be kind of careful with it. Oh, Gavin was wanting to know who makes that wax. Is there a company that you know off the top of your head that makes it? He's in Australia, so I'm thinking he's going to get on the internet and try to get some of it.
I think I got it either from eBay or Amazon.
It's called Renaissance Wax. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little white vial. See if I can find it in my.
All right, you got 4 minutes, brother. So hurry up. No, I'm joking. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's called microcrystalline wax polish, and trying to see. It's made in England.
Well, some of you guys over in the UK will be buying that up. And got to buy some stock in it now. Relic hunters are going to want that too. It works that good. Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's 65 milliliter.
Milliliter.
But it says refined wax is blended to a formula used by the British Museum and restoration specialists internationally to revive and protect valuable furniture, leather, paintings, metals, marble, ivory, and many other substances housed and exposed to weather. Freshens colors and imparts a soft sheen. But yeah, I like this stuff. It says apply sparingly with a soft cloth and buff gently. Dries hard instantly. Resists liquid spillage. Does not show finger marks.
Well, that's a good thing too.
It says Renaissance products. Creator Enterprises Ltd. 44 Parkview Gardens, London. They got a website, www.picereator.co.uk. So,
yeah, you'll have to listen to the show again, Gavin, so you can get that. I'm not going to try to put that on chat. But no, I mean, if it's another product that we can use, Craig, I mean, I mean, obviously, if we're using... Go ahead, sorry.
Maybe I'll take some photos of it and stuff and put some information on Instagram on it later.
I'm thinking about getting some of it, too, because we're always looking for stuff to kind of bring out detail, and it sounds like it'll do that. I mean, cleans it good enough and makes it, a little bit of sheen. You can't get fingerprint, it doesn't show fingerprints, that kind of thing. I don't know how it'll work on, other items. Like, you have to be careful at first, but heck, if they're using it in museums and stuff like that on paintings and everything else, I can't see where it would hurt silver or copper or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's, it's not it doesn't have like chemicals in it, that's going to really react with any metals or anything.
Right.
It's just kind of like a coating that, it just makes it look, the Indian Pity really came out good. I mean, it even has a little bit of a shine to it.
Gavin says he'll hit you up for an order. That's what Gavin said. Oh, geez. Yeah, well, it's like this show turned out to be kind of like some of our others, where we don't really have a format. It kind of takes a path it wants to, but I'm kind of glad it did because it works. We start off with settings, but it ends up at how to clean stuff or what to use. I just like that idea, Craig. I like the way that just the show takes its own path and
yeah, it's like I'm in a couple of these podcasting groups on Facebook and stuff, and it's kind of hilarious to me that I had to answer questions to get onto the site, and then they were asking me and I was telling them I have this podcast I do with a friend, and we've been doing it for about 5 years, and we just monetized. And so the first questions they ask is about the equipment and editing. Who does your editing? And so I was like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah,
we've never done any editing. We just do what's called a stream of consciousness. We just
I like that stream of consciousness. I love that.
Yeah. Well, that's the British got into this like in literature and stuff back in the 1800s. Some of the great authors, from Britain and stuff, they talked about stream of consciousness. It's like your brain, how you think, and how your mind wanders.
Right.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's you got all this. We both have all this information in our heads from metal detecting and all these stories and things that happen. And we can come up with stuff out off the head. It's like somebody asks a question, and Gavin asks a question that kind of goes in a different
right.
direction.
Right. It's more interactive. Yeah.
Yeah, we like feedback, and we can talk about anything. But somebody brings up a subject, but I'm always looking for information on metal detecting, preserving artifacts. That's one thing that's really with the internet. We didn't have all this information about metal detecting, but we also didn't have all this information on cleaning stuff. It was kind of trial by error and talking to relic hunters, and a lot of times you'd make bad mistakes and ruin stuff by over cleaning it. And I've seen a lot of people ruin stuff.
I've ruined stuff. I mean, Craig, you've ruined stuff just trying stuff out. But the idea is if you're going to try to clean an Indian head penny, try it on a wheat penny first and make sure you're not. You don't want to screw up the good find. You want to try it out on some other kind of penny or whatever you're cleaning. That way, if it does screw it up or bleach out the metal or whatever, take the finish off of it, whatever, not to use it on the good item that you're really wanting to get clean. You need to find a different way to do it. Because I've like electrolysis, I've ruined stuff with electrolysis, done it the wrong way, whatever. It's a learning process. But yeah, we're kind of getting over on time here, Craig, anyways. But yeah, we're going to have to do another show on this too. That's another thing. It just leads into other shows. We can continue on, whether it's settings or coils or how to clean stuff or whatever, because there's so much information out there. There's no way to get it in on one show and the processes that we use and stuff. So got to probably wrap it up for tonight. Guys, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/hardcore metal detecting. See if you might want to be a supporter. And of course our Facebook page, Craig's been running that, our Instagram page and everything. It's just kind of steadily growing. Craig, we talked about, it's like 98,000 downloads already of the show, which I thought was pretty cool. I looked that up this morning, over 25,000 followers and everything. We appreciate you guys, liking and following the show, and it's kind of neat watching those numbers jump up there. I was really surprised about that this morning when I was looking online. So, of course, we have our regular shows on Thursday and Saturday nights at 8 p.m. And then we're trying to do these morning shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Sometimes Wednesday's out. It just depends on what my schedule's like for that day. It's kind of a crazy day for me. So, but at any rate, I guess we'll talk to you again tomorrow night for tomorrow night's Saturday night show. And we never know what topic's going to be. We kind of guess at the right last minute what we're going to talk about and that way it keeps it fresh and unscripted. So y'all have a good morning. Be careful on the drive. I see several other guys on here on chat this morning. Yard Fact Diggers, Scotty D's on, Gavin's on. I saw Brandon earlier on the show here. Y'all get to work safely, or in Gavin's case, have another brew for us, brother, and have a good night's sleep. So we'll talk to you later. Keep digging, and God bless.